Think about someone you know, maybe a friend, maybe a colleague, maybe even someone in your own family, who posts everything on social media. Every meal, every outing, every small win, every mood. Their life unfolding in real time on your screen. You don't have to ask how they are doing, you already know. And if you're being honest, at some point you've wondered, what's really going on there? Are they just expressive? Are they confident? Are they attention-seeking? Or is there something deeper driving this constant need to share? Because here's what most people don't realize. The person who posts everything on social media is not just someone who enjoys sharing. They are operating from a psychological framework that is very different from someone who posts occasionally, or not at all. And once you understand that framework, you start to see social media behavior in a completely different light. Let's start with a simple truth. Posting is not just about sharing moments. At a psychological level, posting is about being seen. Research in psychology consistently points towards something called impression management, the natural human tendency to shape how others perceive us. Every post, every caption, every story is, in some way, a signal, a message that says, this is who I am, this is what my life looks like, this is how I want you to be seen. But when someone posts everything, that signaling becomes constant. It is no longer occasional expression. It becomes a continuous construction of identity. Now, here's where it gets interesting. People who post everything often fall into a few distinct psychological patterns. The first is what psychologists call a high need for external validation. For these individuals, feedback is not just nice to have, it is emotionally significant. Likes, comments, shares act as small signals of approval, and over time, the brain starts to associate posting with reward. A good post feels like acceptance. A viral post feels like importance. And a post that gets ignored can feel like rejection. So they post again and again, not always consciously, but because somewhere deep down, their sense of self is being shaped in real time by how others respond to them. The second pattern is rooted in identity exploration. Some people are still figuring out who they are, what they value, and where they fit in the world. Social media becomes a testing ground. They try different versions of themselves, different aesthetics, different opinions, different lifestyles, and then they watch what gets the most engagement. Over time, this creates a feedback loop where identity is not internally defined, but externally reinforced. Who they are becomes closely tied to what performs well. The third pattern is something more subtle and often misunderstood. It is emotional regulation. For some people, posting is not about attention. It is about processing. They share when they are happy, when they are struggling, when they feel lonely, because expressing it publicly gives a sense of release. It creates the feeling of being heard, even if no one responds deeply. In a way, the audience becomes a silent support system. But here's the catch. When emotional expression becomes dependent on an audience, it can slowly replace deeper, more meaningful forms of connection. Now, there is another layer to this, and it is the role of dopamine. Every notification, every like, every comment triggers a small release of dopamine in the brain, the same chemical involved in reward and motivation. Over time, this creates a habit loop. Post, wait, check, feel rewarded, repeat. And the more frequently someone posts, the more they stay inside this loop. It is not just behavior anymore. It becomes conditioning. And like any form of conditioning, it can be hard to step away from. But here's something that often goes unnoticed. People who post everything are not always the most confident. In fact, sometimes it is the opposite. Because when your life is constantly being shared, it also becomes constantly evaluated. There is pressure to keep up, to maintain an image, to stay relevant, to keep people engaged. And that pressure can quietly create anxiety. What if this post does not perform well? What if people lose interest? What if I disappear from people's feeds and their minds? So they keep posting, not just to express, but to stay visible, to stay remembered, to stay relevant. Now, none of this means that posting is bad. That's important to understand. Sharing your life, expressing yourself, connecting with people, these are all natural human behaviors. But when sharing becomes constant, it usually means something deeper is being fulfilled, whether it is validation, identity, connection, or emotional release. And here is the part that really makes you think. In a world where moments are increasingly lived through a screen, where experiences are paused to be captured, where life is documented as much as it is lived, posting everything can start to blur the line between living your life and performing it. Because when every moment is shared, you begin to ask a quiet question. Am I experiencing this, or am I preparing to post it? And that question changes everything. The psychology of people who post everything on social media is not about judging them. It is about understanding them. Because in many ways, they are reflecting something deeply human. The need to be seen, the need to be heard, the need to feel like our life matters, just expressed in the most visible way possible. And once you see that clearly, you do not just understand them better, you start to understand your own relationship with social media too. And if this made you pause even for a second, share this video with that one person who needs to hear this. Or maybe share it because you felt something shift inside you. Because sometimes awareness is the first step to change, and sometimes a simple video can start a conversation that actually matters. And before you go, ask yourself one honest question. If nobody could see your life, would you still live it the same way? Because at the end of the day, the most meaningful moments are not the ones that get the most likes. They are the ones that you actually feel. And maybe, just maybe, your life was never meant to be performed. It was meant to be lived. And if that thought stayed with you even after this video ends, that's your sign to slow down just a little, to be a little more present, to experience one moment today without reaching for your phone. Because the truth is, not everything meaningful needs to be shared to be real. Some of the most important parts of your life will never be posted, never be seen, never be validated by anyone else. And yet they will shape who you become in the deepest way possible. So the next time you feel the urge to capture everything, just pause and ask yourself, is this a memory I want to keep or a moment I want to prove? And if you found value in this, don't just scroll away. Send it to someone who is constantly chasing validation, or someone who might need this reminder today, because you never know. This one video might help someone reconnect with their real life again. And if you want more content that actually makes you think, see yourself clearly, and grow quietly without the noise, make sure you stay connected, because sometimes the most powerful changes happen when nobody is watching.